classic items for restorative yoga here. My favourites, some blocks, some cushions the same size. I've got my deflated Pilates ball, if you've got anything like that to hand, and a mini bolster, which is so good for lots of things, but you can also use a rolled up blanket for that. And then settling down on the mat, on the floor. It's also quite nice to do restorative yoga on your bed, especially if you're ever not well, or in the winter time if the floor is cold. It can be really nice to do these types of things on the bed. Settling down in any lying down pose initially that feels comfortable, that's soothing for you. So maybe hands on the belly or arms out to the side. So if it is hot, I often like to spread my arms out a bit more so there's some air circulation possible around the sides of my body and armpits. So all the usual options. Giving the weight of the body a few moments to settle down. Letting the breath settle down. As the weather has been getting warmer, I have been introducing the cooling breath. And a very simple version of that is to breathe in through slightly pursed lips and breathe out through the nose or the mouth. If you're too hot, feeling uncomfortably hot at any point during the practice, that can feel quite restorative. Breathing in through slightly pursed lips, feeling the cool air around the mouth, and then exhaling any way you like. And a slower exhale helps us to, we could say, mentally cool down. There's maybe a sense of fieriness that comes with busyness or being a little agitated by the weather or whatever else might be going on. So whilst the cooling in-breath that's a very physical thing, a long exhale helps with the psychological aspect of cooling down, calming down. So you might like to do a few of those. And then starting with some simple limbering, simple movements. And you can really consider what you want your pace to be. Do you want to move with the breath? Would you prefer that? Or just focus on moving and going faster or slower as you feel comfortable with? So starting with the arms by the sides of the body, palms down, and taking the arms up first to the vertical position, so fingertips point to the ceiling, and then back down. So we can start small, keep the hands and wrists soft and relaxed, and bringing something from Qigong into this could be that we imagine that when we move the hands back down, we're gently stroking the air with our fingertips, and when we move the hands up imagining stroking the air with the backs of the hands. So there's a soft gentleness to the movement. Fingers slightly curled, elbows can be slightly bent. As I often say, it's not just what we're doing, also how we're doing it. So this could be simply called an arm lift. But doing it like this, slow, soft, Qigong style, is very different from keeping the arms very straight and moving the arms up and down fast. That's very different. You can give it a go if you like. Nothing wrong with either. But in terms of restoring, slowing down, soothing the mind, the first Qigong style version may be more appropriate. And after a few of those, letting the arms rest on the floor again with the palms up. And rotating the arms the other way, so there's a little bit of rotation at the shoulders. And then rolling the head from side to side. Going as slowly as you like, with or without breath coordination. And letting the movement be as big or small as you like to. And if it is warmer weather, when you're doing this practice, you might notice you feel more flexible. The body is more flexible. You might find things feel a bit different. And then bringing your head back to the center. And bringing the arms by the sides of the body again with the palms down. And doing some more arm lifts in that soft style. And this time taking the arms towards the floor behind you. Or if you have a bolster or a cushion behind you, you can touch down on that. And then again, maybe a sense of gently stroking the air as you move the hands down. And stroking the air as you move the hands up. Very lightly touching the floor or the support behind you. Slow, gentle. And if you are coordinating with the breath, you're probably equalizing the breath, in-breath and out-breath, which, if you remember from a few weeks ago, brings about this increased coherence between the brain, the heart, the lungs, everything working more in harmony with each other, which can really help with things like focus, energy levels and mood. And then when you next bring your arms up, you can see if it's comfortable to rest your arms behind you. And alternatives you're probably quite familiar with now is to maybe interlace your fingers behind your head or have the arms wider, higher support behind you, a couple of pillows. And this is nice, or I like this again when it's warmer weather as well, because you feel more air circulating around the arms, around the hands as well, with the palms turned up. And breathing, and slowly, calmly, maybe a little more deeply than you were before. Letting your whole body relax. And then bringing your arms back down. And then resting them by the side of the body with the palms up. Maybe a bit of space between the arms and the body tends to be more comfortable with the palms turned up. And then lifting the chin up and down a few times. So taking the chin up towards the ceiling just a little bit, and then down towards the chest, whilst keeping the head supported on the floor. So a small movement, moving the head and neck in the vertical direction rather than the twist. So a little back bend, tiny little back bend and forward bend for the neck. And then finding a place to rest your head comfortably somewhere within that range between forward bend and backward bend. There's quite a neutral place where you're not neither exaggerating a back bend where you'd expose your throat a bit more, nor are you kind of creating a double chin by pressing your chin down. So somewhere in between. And then another little head roll from side to side. And coming back to the center. And bringing the knees in towards the chest. And using your hands, especially if you want to take it easy, support the movement with your hands. And doing some small circles with the knees, keeping the feet together, the big toes or the big toe joints touching if you can. Just a little movement, little circle. And then going the other way. And then reversing direction again. And maybe making the circles gradually a bit bigger, so the knees move apart further, and it's moving towards a cobbler pose type position, but dynamically. Changing direction again, bigger circles in the other direction. And you can do these kinds of circles whilst resting the arms, so then there's a bit more of a strengthening effect. So you could do a few of those, or maybe you chose to do them anyway. See how you feel. And then hugging the knees in towards the chest and rocking the lower body from side to side, so a little boat, and you can rock your head as well. roll your head. And then bringing the feet back down to the ground. And then can use, if you wish, a couple of cushions to pop near your thighs. So if you were to go into a cobbler, you'd have some support, so you can have a little try, like where would be most comfy. And I tend to have them sort of closer to the top of my thighs. I like that. My cushions aren't so thick. If you've got thicker ones, you might prefer to support your knees. So just getting them in the right place. And of course you can do it without cushions as well. And then starting off with the hands on the lower ribs and the elbows out to the side, so your elbows are creating a similar shape to what the legs will be doing. But we'll start with the knees and the feet together and upright, elbows on the floor and out to the side. And then you could work with the breath or just move however you like whilst you breathe smoothly through it. So on an in-breath, letting one knee go out to the side, and on an out-breath, bringing it back up, and then going to the other side. So in-breath, a half cobbler, and out-breath, returning the knee to the upright position. So going from side to side a few times. And on the exhale, that's sense of rooting the sole of the foot back down, almost like using the foot as a lever to bring the knee up with more ease. And when you next release the right knee out to the side, keep the left leg upright and just letting the right leg release out to the side for a moment. Consciously relaxing around the hip and the thigh. And you can also stretch your right arm out to the side, straightening out the right arm at shoulder level. Feeling the groundedness on the right side. And then folding the right hand, the right arm back in, so the right hand rests on the rib cage again. Bringing the right knee back up, and then exhaling, release the left knee and take a few moments to fully consciously relax the right leg out to the side, letting it be heavy, and then extending the left arm out to the side. Perhaps feeling a little more grounded on the left side, left shoulder blade and left hip. And then bending the left arm again, bringing the left knee back up. And we can do dynamic cobbler with legs and arms, so breathing in and Extending the arms out to the side, letting the knees go wide. Breathing out, coming back to the starting position. So almost like you've got 4 wings. Breathing in, opening out the wings, spreading the wings, and exhaling, folding them in. You can still keep a sense of soft, slow gentleness in the movements. As if you're stroking the air with fingertips. And next time you're taking your arms out to the side, you can also let both knees release outwards and notice how this would feel as a posture to rest in for a few minutes. So you might be here for a minute or 2, but imagine if you thought, I'm going to be here for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, could I fall asleep like this? Is it comfortable enough to fall asleep? That's kind of what we're looking for, not necessarily to fall asleep right now, but that's the level of comfort we want to have in restorative yoga, that your body wouldn't be bothering you at all. So if there's too strong a stretch on your inner thighs, or your back is a bit twitchy, or your hips don't feel quite right, then you can pop an extra thing, if you've got something else handy, under both legs. So I often get the discomfort on my right hip, but I wouldn't just raise my right leg, because I kind of want my back to stay straight if I'm going to stay here a bit longer. So I might choose to raise both knees up a little bit, so it's super comfy. And this is a difference with yin yoga, where you might be in a similar lying down cobbler for quite a while, but that's when you'd be doing it to get a deep stretch. So and then you kind of try to relax into the discomfort. But in restorative yoga, we basically want to feel super, super comfy. And of course, you can also relieve any discomfort by going back to the half version, where one knee is up, we're changing sides, and so on. See how you go. If you like, you could have your arms further up to get even more cool air circulation around the armpits. And you can allow your belly to relax, regulate your breath if you want to, the cooling breath or the equalizing the breath. Combining a few things to soothe the body and mind if you want to. If you did, we won't do it now, but if you did want to practice this again, or if you're using the recording, of course you could pause. It can be really nice to stay in these restorative poses, and if you struggle with your mind becoming distracted or getting bored, you could consider putting some relaxing music on. I also have some podcasts that I find quite relaxing to listen to, because the presenter has a soothing voice and the topic is something to do with yoga or nature or something not a news one, might not be super relaxing. So sometimes do that and just choose some of these poses to be in for quite a while. And then coming out of a posture like this, when we've been there longer, it tends to be a bit more important to do a counter pose, otherwise our hips might get too outwardly rotated over time. However good it feels, we usually need to do something opposite. So the opposite thing could be first to let your knees lean against each other and have your feet a bit wider than hip width apart. And we could cross our arms over our chest in the self-care gesture. And if your left arm is on top, you could let your head roll slightly to the left, and maybe your left hand could gently stroke your cheek. And so you could do that with the back of your hand, or your thumb, or your palm. But apparently this is very, very soothing for the nervous system as well. So we can get a sort of 2-for-1 self-care posture with a self-care gesture. And then rolling the head to the center, stretching the arms out to the side for a moment, maybe arching your back a little bit, and then crossing your arms the other way. So your other arm's on top, and roll your head to the other side, optional, and also optional cheek stroke. Whilst your hips release at the same time. Then releasing the arms again, and it might be nice to sort of spread your wings again, arch your back a little bit before crossing the right thigh over the left, so a little bit more internal hip rotation, and bringing the knees in towards the chest. If it's not comfortable to bring both knees in, I sometimes do this, keeping the left foot on the ground and just bringing the right knee in towards me. And if you can, orientate it towards the center of the chest. You can get a bit more of a stretch along the outer hip, buttock and lower back. And then taking a little rock, or just move your right knee from side to side and in little circles. See what feels nice. Making it a bit more of a dynamic stretch by moving the knees around, or just the right knee around. And crossing the legs the other way for a bit more of the same on the other side. Great, and then taking a moment to rest either in semi-supine with your knees bent, stretching your legs out in corpse pose. That might feel quite nice, you could try it. Often with the lying down cobbler pose, there's a fair amount of release that happens around the pelvis. So corpse pose might feel quite nice, even if it's not always comfortable for you.